All right, welcome to the latest episode of Inside the World of Sports. I'm excited to be talking to Ricky G. How are you doing, Ricky G?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on. By
All
the
right.
way, I was looking at your bio, and then I was looking at your YouTube page or whatever it is. You a hustler. You got some big shots. I
Appreciate it.
mean, you got some big names that we all know. I respect that. Anyways, continue.
All right, okay. Tell me about your career.
Oh, my career is really not that. My career is nothing but just an AAU guy, basketball junkie. I'm not a guy that, I mean, I was a good high school player. I was recruited Pac 8. Some things didn't go right. I didn't handle it right. And it just kind of went south. But I'm just a basketball guy. I grew up with a couple number one draft picks in my city. I've been around guys all my life. The AAU scene brought me around coaches, college coaches. If you have good players in the AAU, you get all the calls from all the college coaches. I was a gym rat as a player, and I was a gym rat as a guy, not as a player. I mean, COVID and not having AAU right now is a void in my life because I miss sitting in the hot summer gyms and talking hoops. I try to do it on Twitter and I just get killed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I started this podcast because I'm an aspiring sports radio host, and so I just wanted to get my name out there and take it from there. All right.
Respect.
Yeah. All right. What advice would you have to young Coopers today?
First of all, you got to chase your passion. Don't chase the money, because if you're good at what you do, the passion, you will become more successful. Therefore, the money will come. Too many people will chase the money and not the passion. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they look back like, what am I doing here? I'm miserable. I don't like it. If you chase your passion, you love your passion, there's a pretty good chance you'll be good at it. And that's what I've done in my life. I've never had a guaranteed check in my life. I was 100% straight commission. I turned down salaries. I don't want the salary. Pay me on my production, but pay me more. That way I have control. When somebody gives you a salary or is paying you, to have control of you. I don't want to be controlled.
Yeah, the advice I'd give to young Coopers is focus more on the skills than relying on athleticism, because it's just the way the game is going. I'd rather take a more skilled guy than a more athletic guy, because I know he can do more on the court for me. So yeah, always do something you're passionate about. Originally, I was setting out to be a doctor, but I just
A
wasn't.
doctor? Hold on. Whoa. You got that kind of a doctor?
Yeah, it didn't work out too well. So I was like,
Really?
I'm into sports. That's what I do well. And so I was like, let me just,
What kind of doctor?
I don't know. See, I wanted to be a pathologist, deal with dead people and study diseases, but I knew it wasn't for me. And so I just said, let me pursue a career in sports, particularly on the radio side of it, and take it from there.
Good for you. Well, one thing I do know about you, you're a hustler, because I won't mention his name, but I saw the name you had on there, and that's pretty impressive. To
Appreciate
get
it.
him to do a pod says a lot about you.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was able to connect with someone that worked with him. It's all about connections in this industry. So
Life is every industry. Life is about talent and relationships. If you don't have no relationships, it becomes difficult. You got to be in that top 1 to 2% if you don't have relationships. You can be less talented, but if you have relationships, you'd be better off.
all right, I don't know if you were able to watch any film on Memphis basketball, the college team. Were you able to?
I haven't sat down and watched film. I did watch him play a few times.
All right.
I like Penny as a coach.
I'm kind of 50-50 on Penny. Penny, he's a good, and this is not just Penny, it's former players. His problem is he's kind of, this coming from a stubborn guy myself. He's kind of stubborn. And look, if it's working, I'm fine with it. The problem is, I feel like he thinks that only defense wins championships. And in today's era, it's just a different game. And you got to be able to score. And they just struggle to score points. And my issue is, it's a big year. He really has to make the tournament. And I don't think they will because of the offense they run. What are your thoughts on that?
Wait a minute, Brian already putting Penny on the hot seat.
They're not going to fire him because they just
Let's
got
talk.
an extension.
Let's talk about defense, though. until the Brooklyn Nets prove otherwise, defense does win. See, if you don't defend, and I'm gonna quote Kerr now. Kerr will tell you if you can't defend, you have no shot. That's the NBA. College might be a little different. I think the thing with Penny is because, and I want to go back to you called yourself stubborn, and you called Penny stubborn. I'm stubborn. Guys that have convictions are stubborn, because if you come off your convictions, then you didn't have convictions. See, the problem is most coaches that don't win, or average coaches, or coaches that lose, they're not stubborn. They give in to too much. Players will get in their head. Players will run over them. Parents get in their head. Supporters get in their head. You gotta get rid of all that stuff. Have your convictions and stick to who you are, and believe in what you're doing. Because you can't win if you don't believe in what you're doing.
Yeah,
In my view.
the issue with him, some of it's not his fault. I really don't think he understands the college game, and I think he's learning a little better. But like, especially in the last, I think 6 national champions in college basketball, they had a higher offensive efficiency than defensive efficiency. And they were really, the reason why I think that's important is not saying you can't have any defense to win, but if you're able to maximize your team's offensive capabilities, I think you can be almost unstoppable, kind of like the Warriors or kind of like Villanova. And I feel like he's running team. It's not just him, but a lot of former players run isolation offenses instead of more team-friendly offenses. And I think that's why they're going to struggle.
I don't understand the ISO concept of basketball, because if you go look at the NBA the last 30 years, how many ISO teams have won a chip? I don't get that. And I know, like, the big dudes like to show you their wiggle every time they touch the ball and all their tricks in their bag, and they want to go one-on-one, and the ball sticks in their hands. That's yet to be proven that you can win a chip with. I mean, there's only been 1 or 2 maybe in the last 30 years, and that might be debatable. I don't think you can win with ISO ball, but I could be wrong.
I'm hoping he can, like, what my ideal scenario, this probably won't happen because number one, Penny won't do it. But I'm hoping if Luke Walton gets fired, he can hire him as his offensive coordinator, and they can maybe run the stuff the Warriors did. Because the thing with Penny, he's getting players. But eventually, if you don't make the tournament, people are going to be like, why should I come here? And if Penny wasn't a great player, I would be stunned how many players would actually want to play for him. Because it's just frustrating to watch them play, because they're so talented. But it's just isolation, AAU basketball. It's just awful.
Well, if you want to use curse system, you better get some shooters. Now my experience.
Shooters now.
Now my experience was when I was in the AAU circuit, Memphis was one of the hotbeds of talent. I mean, Memphis had as much talent as Chicago, New York, even Oakland, even LA. And then you got Arkansas right next to you. So, he's sitting in a hotbed of talent, I'm sure. So I don't think players will ever be his issue. But I think it's too early to judge Penny. Juwan Howard did okay with it, coming over from the NBA to college.
Yeah, but the difference with Juwan Howard, he has a better staff. He was an assistant for a long time. And under Eric Spoelstra, he's proven to be one of the better coaches in the NBA. And the offense they run is a more team-friendly offense, plays for each other. And that's what I would like Penny to do. But I'm afraid he's going to have to miss the tournament again in order for that to happen. But I'm fearful that
you made a good observation, though. Juwan Howard's head assistant, he's got like 50 years of college experience. So you're right. Howard did hire him a good staff. I don't really know Penny's staff, so I wouldn't know who he hired. Does he have any old timers on there, or anybody with a lot of experience?
No, that's the problem.
See, I'm not aware of that.
And he's like too obsessed with like pressing, which is all right in college. And he's just obsessed with the defense, which is fine, but they've yet to crack 100 on offensive efficiency since he's been head coach. And the last time Memphis made the tournament, they were 97th in the nation in offensive efficiency. So I'm hoping he can fix that. But I'm afraid he's going to have to miss it or luck up like Georgetown to make the tournament. And that's just not sustainable.
Penny Hardaway is the biggest legend in AAU basketball. You're aware of that, right?
Maybe he needs to go back and coach AAU.
Well, maybe that's why. Well, maybe no. Maybe what he's trying to do is go the AAU route in college. I don't mind that. I think if I had a college team, but I was around Tark a lot. I would, if I had a college team today, I might go 10 guys, 94 feet of hell, like Tark and Nolan Richardson in Arkansas. See, my favorite coach in college basketball is Calvin Sampson. He's no joke. He don't lie to players. He don't let players lie to him. If you're 2 for 8 from the 3-point line, stop shooting. You can't shoot. He tells the truth.
See, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see more accountability. I feel like Penny lets his guards have too much freedom, and that's part of the problem.
What about Boogie Ellis?
He was good down the stretch, but he's gone, and so but he was home.
Wait a minute, Boogie's
Boogie's at USC now.
When did that happen?
That happened like right after the season. That's part of the problem. Two of his most talented offensive players are gone, in DJ and Boogie. So
well, I live in San Diego. Let me tell you about Boogie. I watched Boogie play in high school, and I saw some issues with Boogie that concerned me during his senior year. The way he was treating the coach, and his family was treating the coach, and little things going on that had concerns. And then he backs out of Duke. And after he backs out of Duke, now he goes to Memphis. Now he's at USC. So he went from one and done to on his 3rd college. What the hell? He's got some talent though.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that.
I think you're gonna see the best out of him and Andy Enfield's offense, because one thing Andy knows is offense. He's one of the bright minds in the game.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why did Penny bring Boogie off the bench? That didn't have to help him at all.
Yeah, I think he just felt it was the better fit. I mean, I understand why he did it, but long term, 2 things really hurt Penny the start of the past season. He didn't really get the lineup right the first time, and DeAndre Williams wasn't eligible until I think like maybe 7 or 8 games after the season started. And so that's why I think he struggled. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if he doesn't make the tournament. That's what
because I'm sure if we had a conversation with Boogie Ellis and his handlers, they would tell us that Penny cost him coming out. That's what they would tell us, I bet.
But he chose to go there. He knows.
Well, I think he chose to go to Memphis after Duke because their point guard didn't leave.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was going to start. I could be wrong. I'm not that close to the situation, but it is what it is. Boogie can shoot it though at times.
All right. What are your thoughts on Mark Jackson? He's clearly being blackballed. There's no doubt about it. But I think he may have to do some stuff on his own if he really wants to get back in coaching. Because if you look at the Warriors, after Kerr took over, they started playing more team-friendly basketball. And 2 things Kerr did: team-friendly basketball, and he hired one hell of a staff. That was the weakness in Mark Jackson's tenure. And also the game kind of changed too. So, and he was able to maximize offensively the skill sets of Draymond Green and the rest of the Warriors. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll simplify this. Mark Jackson was a ball-dominant point guard. Steve Kerr was an off shooting guard. Mark Jackson looks at the game through a dominant point guard lens. Steve Kerr looks at the game through a shooting guard lens. Shooting guards want movement. Shooting guards want ball moving. Mark Jackson's more of a pick and roll type, ball sticky, ball dominant type point guard. They just look at the game from where they play. That's all.
That's a really good point. I never thought about it that way. Maybe that's why Penny maybe does what he does, because he looks at the game that way.
He looks at the game from a point guard lens. See, when you look at coaches, most time, not all, most cases, they coach the way they see the game through how they play. Now you go look at Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight was a defense. I mean, you had to play defense. You wouldn't touch the floor. Well, when Bobby Knight played, he couldn't guard a door. So it was kind of interesting how some coaches that never guarded become great defensive coaches. It's just kind of weird in that dynamic. But yeah, Penny probably looks at the game through a point guard lens. Want the ball in his hand, more dominant. Let me wiggle. Let me break it down. I get it. But Kerr looks at it from off ball. Kerr wants a defense 50 feet apart. He wants open lanes for cutters. He wants the ball movement. He don't want the ball to stick.
What else was I gonna say? Do you think there's been some talk that LaMelo Ball, his game is like Penny Hardaway's? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't see no penny. I don't see no penny in LaMelo. You know who LaMelo Ball game is to me?
Yeah.
Michael Ray Richardson.
I don't
Go
know.
Google Mike. Go Google Michael Ray Richardson and get back to me. That's LaMelo Ball. That's LaMelo Ball is much better than Michael Ray Richardson. But if you want to look at comparison of style and game, LaMelo Ball is Michael Ray Richardson.
All right, I'll do that. All right. What are your thoughts on the pace and space era, and do you think it's good for the game long term?
Is it good for the game? I don't. No. Well, that's a. When you say is it good for the game, are we talking about fans? Are we talking about teams? I mean, see, the problem is they want scoring. They want scoring for the fans. I get it, but I think freedom of movement and no, you can't butt cutters. You can't play with your hand. You can't do that anymore. It kills the game. In my opinion, I think it's showing. But I think what's killing the NBA game is the one and done play. We got too many kids in the league. NBA's for grown men. That's why we have the have-nots and the haves. The haves have dudes. The have-nots don't have no dudes. If you don't have 2 to 3 dudes on your team, you're not going to win games consistently in the NBA. You can't win with kids. And if you're an elite team, you can't have a kid in the starting lineup if you get in the last 4 teams standing. I mean, look at Hero last year. As good as he was in the bubble, he got attacked in the finals. You can't win with kids in the NBA when it's the better teams.
And not just that, how many of these kids are really productive right away? I mean, very few. If they stayed in college a little bit longer, they could have maybe developed more.
Well,
become.
I don't know if you cut the. I had a conversation with Trae Young's father on my Twitter line. I don't know if you cut that.
I did.
And I was a little surprised. He said to me that he wished that his son would have went back to college for a second year. But he also stressed to me the reason why he didn't do it, obviously for the money. But to hear an NBA player, first round pick's father tell me he wished he went back to his second year in college, that says a lot.
I kind of disagree with him. I think Trae was ready to go. I think he's perfect for today's NBA. Some guys are just, if it was like back in the day, then he definitely would have needed to go to college to get stronger and all of that. But he's perfect for today's NBA. All right. Do you think the Warriors, what move would you like them to make in the offseason to go for one final run?
Well, they got to get another playmaker. And when I'm talking about a playmaker that's a good playmaker, not just a playmaker. They need a good playmaker. Well, the Wiseman deal is confusing now because even if Wiseman's going to be Wiseman, he's not going to be in the window. He's not ready. He's not going to be ready for 2 years. So they definitely got to get a veteran big. They need a veteran big. They need an athletic wing, and they need a playmaker. They need what everybody else needs. The problem is what everybody else needs. There's not very many of them. The question is going to be, what is Clay going to be? That's their question.
Yeah, I think he'll be a solid player, but he won't be what he was. What if
not defensively?
What if they got Chris Middleton? They gave up Wiggins, that pick from Minnesota.
What does Middleton give you? What does Middleton give you other than? See, here's the problem with Middleton, and here's the problem with Beal. Like today or yesterday on a pod, I said I don't want Beal. When you have Steph and Clay, you want them to be taking 17 and 20 shots, correct? If I bring in a Middleton or a Beal, those shots over here for Steph and Clay are going to decrease. So I don't need that. What I need over here on the other side is I need a good athletic defensive wing or a rim protector. See, so in my view, the Warriors need a playmaker and a rim protector. But I like Wiggins, so I don't want to move Wiggins.
I don't know. I guess they just have to see what they can get. I would have liked to see an Aaron Gordon, a Nikola Vucevic on the Warriors, but that one, I mean, they still could try to get Vuce if they really.
If they got Vuce, that changes a lot of things.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. One last question regarding the Warriors: how do you think LaMelo would have fit if they had taken him?
So this is a conversation that I've had several times. I'm not sure. I'm not sure LaMelo fits Kerr from the standpoint. Kerr's defense first. Can Steph and LaMelo guard in the backcourt? If you got LaMelo having the ball with Steph don't have the ball, what do you do with Green as a playmaker? There's a lot of variables in there. I'm not sure. See, I think for the Warriors, Halliburton was a better fit than LaMelo. Now, we could argue LaMelo might be a better star than Halliburton. I agree. But I'll give you an example. I think 27 coaches take LaMelo over Halliburton. But I think Kerr, Pop, and Phil take Halliburton over LaMelo. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
See, they're looking for that long guard that plays two-way. See, the problem with LaMelo, you're going to have to hide him. So if you hide him on defense, and then you got Steph out front, you got to kind of hide him too. You can't hide both of them. So I don't think it's a winning formula. Now, on the offensive side, LaMelo and Steph would have been hella fun to watch. No doubt about that.
The thing is, they could have just brought him off the bench. They didn't have to start him. And then
that's true.
He could have.
But then LaMelo. But if we do that, then LaMelo's not who he is today. See, that's the thing that gets crazy here. If LaMelo would have went to the Warriors instead of the Hornets, we might not even be talking about LaMelo. Because if LaMelo's going to have 6-7 turnovers a game and not guard, Kerr's not playing him. See, so that's an issue.
And not only that, I think they should have taken LaMelo. They could have just done what they did with D'Angelo Russell. If they're able to find someone bigger in the summer, they could have just flipped him. Because they're probably going to trade Wiseman along with Wiggins to try to get a piece to go on that final run. And that's now you would have gotten more with LaMelo. Now with James Wiseman, I'm not sure what you're going to be able to get.
Well, yeah, but you're assuming Wiseman has big value now. I think Wiseman's value is dropped. He's got a knee injury, and then we saw he's not ready to play.
He's a center.
Sorry?
In today's game.
Well, see, I think but you know what? See, this is where a lot of people disagree with me. I think the game's coming back to bigs. See, the game, you got to understand, the NBA, when teams win championships, the other 29 coaches are looking for counters. The NBA, it evolves. It comes back and forth. Teams are always looking for counters to beat you. So all this small ball and all that space and all that, that's fine. But I think you're going to see a switch back. I could be wrong, but I think you're going to start seeing more bigs than you have in the past. Is what I mean, look at the Lakers. Why did the Lakers go get Drummond if what we're saying small ball matters? See, they're trying to counter what the Nets are doing. So everybody's looking for a counter. Small ball counters size. Small ball to counter the size of small ball. Kind of goes back and forth. So it's a game coaches play, but coaches are always looking counters to beat the champ.
I think there's two reasons why the Lakers did that. They needed a defensive athletic big, and they need someone to keep AD fresh for the regular season. Because their best lineup.
That might be fair.
Their best lineup is not just AD at the 5, but LeBron at the 4.4 as a point forward. Now you're able to maximize his abilities with that.
I think the 2 points you made is fair, but I really believe they got Drummond for one reason: to play bully ball against the Nets.
Well, first they got.
That's what I believe.
I'm not sure.
No, I understand that. I mean, I agree with you.
Right now, if I had to pick a team out of the West, I think it's the Clippers. They have no excuse not to make it out of the West.
Well, what is Ibaka going to be?
I don't think Ibaka matters. The three players that are critical for them are Paul George, Rondo, and Kawhi. If those guys play at an elite level, I think they'll be able to make it to the Western Conference Finals.
All right.
I mean, to the NBA Finals.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, who's your MVP? Right now, mine is Nikola Jokic, and it really isn't even close.
Yeah, I think it's Jokic. I'm not an MVP guy. I don't really get into that, but I don't see how Jokic cannot get it. He's been the most consistent. The other guys have too many injuries, missed games. I think it's Jokic. I think Jokic has been the MVP probably from day one to now, more consistent. I mean, there's been other players like LeBron in his deal, Kawhi, even Embiid. But I think at the end of the day, it's Jokic. I mean, I'll tell you, a guy should get some consideration before he got hurt was Mitchell. I mean, they're the best record in the NBA. Usually MVP goes to, the teams that are winning.
I think
Westbrook's the only one that got the MVP, not winning.
what about Curry? Do you think he deserves MVP consideration?
Consideration, sure. I don't think he's MVP, but I think he's in the conversation. I mean, we can make a lot of guys in the conversation. I think Curry's in the conversation. Jokic is in the conversation. I think Kawhi's probably in the conversation. He
Kawhi.
misses games. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, Giannis could be in it. Why not?
But I think back to
Why not James Harden?
Nah, not James Harden.
No? Okay.
Nah.
By the way, he's out till the playoffs. He might, the Nets. I keep talking about the Nets on Twitter.
I think they may
talking
have
Nets with you.
Go ahead, let me say something real quick, please. I think they may have the issues the Clippers had with chemistry because I just don't know how you build it with the time guys have been missing. And talent can only take you so far.
I said this 2 weeks ago, and Twitter blew me off. I had to leave Twitter for 2 days. I totally agree with you. I mean, the Nets are trying to play AAU basketball. Go get all the dudes in your community. Let's go play for a weekend. That don't work. I mean, if they can do it, more power to them. But now I'm worried about. I mean, I have concerns about Durant, but he looks like he's fine. But now I worry about Harden. They say Harden's out till the playoff. So they may not ever. It's very possible all three players may never play that many games together.
Yeah, back to your point about the bigs maybe coming back. I think if they're like transcendent bigs like Jokic, Bam, Embiid, if they're really, really skilled bigs, then yeah, I think they'll have a big impact. And you always have your Clint Capellas. Those guys will be able to make it in the league. But if you want to be a dominant big, you got to be able to do a lot of things on the court like those three are able to do.
Do you like the way Embiid plays?
Yeah.
I don't like the way he plays.
I'm not sure Simmons and Embiid are the greatest fit because I just think Ben Simmons is just better with shooters around him.
Well, I think if I ran the Sixers, I might play Ben Simmons at center and run.
And just have his surrounding with shooters. That's what.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah,
I can see that.
All right, which basketball games do you prefer to watch, college or NBA? I personally prefer to watch college because I just like I feel like there's more team-friendly offenses, and it's really, really there's not a lot of isolation.
I enjoy watching all basketball. I mean, I watch college ladies. I watch the WNBA. I'll go watch a good 8th grade game tonight if I get a phone call. I enjoy it all, but at the end of the day, I prefer the NBA when we're down to 4 to 8 teams. When we're down to 48 teams, okay, now I'll pull up a chair. Let's do this. The problem with me on the NBA is there's just so many bad teams. Then college basketball don't have no spacing. It's college basketball and the NBA is a completely different game. See, what you like, yeah, that's a college game. It's like I tell Twitter all the time. If you're into coaches, the college game's for you. The college game is a coaches league. If you're into dudes and players, the NBA's for you. It's not a coaches league. The NBA's a players league. Now, coaches matter. Their philosophy matters, and managing egos matters. That's the toughest part.
And adapting matters.
Kurt. Yeah, it matters. But all these people talking schemes and this and that. I mean, that's the college game. Go watch the college game.
All right.